Vet subreddit. What was the worst pet name you have ever encountered in your job? So I'm not a vet, but I'm deeply involved in the horse world. There's a discipline called halter, and many of the horses are genetic atrocities to begin with. They've been bred to the point of uselessness. When naming quarter horses, many breeders like to create a registered name that incorporates the parents' names and bloodlines. So, somebody bred together the stallion Kids Classic Style and the mare Looking Touchable. The best name that the breeders could come up with for the foal? Kids Looking Touchable. Yep, that's the best they could come up with. Whoa, I mean, there are no good names to be had there, but there are some that are at least horse show good. Touchable Style, Looking Classic. Come on, people. Not a vet, but I lived in the Marshall Islands for a few years and I noticed that all black male dogs are named Lakilamage. Black boy. All white male dogs are named Lamau. White boy. All brown male dogs are Laburon. Brown boy. And all black and white dogs are named Oreo. We adopted a black and white bunny named Pickles. The rescue we adopted from told us later that his previous family had called him Oreo, but every dang black and white animal gets named Oreo. One of my boys wanted to name one of our dogs Meat Stack. My son was 6 when we adopted the puppy. Same kid wanted to name his brother Turtle Flower when he was born. Needless to say, he is not in charge of naming things in our household. My older daughter wanted to name her baby sister either Light of Stars or Mr. Moochenbert. This from the child who names her stuffies after what kind of animal they are. Mom owns a vet practice, so had a lot of these. Best worst pet. Parents named their cat Dog and their dog Cat. James Bond was my favorite doggy Pekingese. He was hilarious. There were so many Mittens, Fluffies, Spots and Buddies, they got lost in the sea of animals. Worst story was a rescued golden retriever who was so malnourished they nicknamed him Pancake. Sadly, Pancake's kidneys were done, so he dies 2 days after he was rescued by the local animal control. The 2 days I got to feed and spend time with him made it all the harder to realize he could have been saved if his family had let him go instead of leaving him chained up in the yard before they left. I hate people a lot of the time. My first pet that I can remember getting was a fish when I was about 3 or 4 years old. I named him Clock because I happened to be looking at a clock when my mom asked what I wanted to name him. My 4-year-old tried to name our puppy Refrigerator. My old neighbors apparently thought it would be a good idea to let their 3-year-old name their dog. The dog was named Dump Truck. Had a client to let each of their 3 children name the cat. The poor cat's name ended up being Hungry Jack Biscuit. Raccoon. Our daughter was 3 when she named the all-black cat. I still have no idea why she named him that. He does appear a bit chunky like a well-fed raccoon now. Raccoons are just cats with opposable thumbs. Not a vet, but I took in a cat from a family named Lord Whimsill at 3. Yes, there were previous Lord Whimsillets. We nicknamed him Wimmy. What a whimsical name. When I adopted my 2 cars from the shelter, the staff had named them after internet browsers and search engines. I got Google and Explorer. Another couple got Firefox and Bing. Mine were promptly renamed. It's good that you're adopting your cars instead of buying the cars from a breeder. Man, I hate BMWs. XGF was a vet nurse. She came across a cat in the system called Horatio Bradshaw Roadwork. They asked for the worst name, not the best. Not a vet, but an owner. When my German Shepherd goes in, I tell them he responds to dog. His actual name is Dante, and he comes running when anyone even breathes it. But if all I want to do is get him to look over to me or to stop whatever he's doing, I just say dog. Also, he gets very excited whenever anyone tells him he has fat butt disease. The Office. He pushes you around with his big butt asking for scratches. Vet's office staff seemed very pleased with this information. We keep calling his name but he doesn't get excited at all, just tell him he has fat butt disease. My husband and I got in the habit of calling our dog Doggy about half the time, so she essentially has 2 names. My father-in-law didn't realize this, so when he used the word doggy incidentally she perked up and came over to him. He was so impressed that she knew she was a doggy. Vet tech here. Worst one was hands down Tub General 96. It was a name given to a sweet, young adult female cat. The owners thought they were funny. I used to volunteer, not as a vet, at an animal shelter. We had to give all the stray cats dogs that came in names. For in the database, they had to be unique because sometimes you had to do a search and you can't have the name Simba popping up 1000 times. It happened. So one time we had 2 dogs that came in together and they named them Solar and me, Salami. It was just for during their stay. The owner was free to change the names. So not that bad, and my co-worker was very creative. Went for a shelter visit the other day and the head of the rescue team was telling us that he named a dog Staircase, cause he found it at a staircase. Duh. And at that point he has taken in so many strays that he couldn't think of another name. My cat's name is John Hinckley Jr. because he was a stray that stalked me for a year and killed things to give me as offerings. Holy crap, this is clever. Obligatory not a vet disclaimer, but story at a vet's. My roommate had a dog called Taquito and we once had to go to the emergency vet at night because it was having trouble breathing. The dog goes in with the vet and maybe half an hour later a vet assistant comes out, goes straight for the Latino looking couple at the other end of the waiting room and just asks them to quito. They were looking so confused and slightly offended, especially since the assistant kept repeating it when they didn't answer. My roommate was slow on the uptake with it being the middle of the night and just being frozen on the spot by the awkwardness of the moment. But she finally spoke up and said Taquito is my dog. No one looked at each other for the remaining time we were there. Oh, I'm getting secondhand cringe from this one. My dad has always wanted a dog named Ask Him, so when someone asks what your dog's name is you can just say Ask Him. That's quality dad joke there. Not a vet, I know. Sorry, my dad adopted a stray cat who wandered into his yard once. The first time he saw the cat, not much past kitten stage, his response was, "What a little crap." Little crap became the cat's name on the vet paperwork. The sad part was that she got her leg caught in a door once, and ended up having it amputated, which led to a really awkward conversation in grade school, before I was old enough to know better, when I told my teacher that my dad has a cat with 3 legs. And her name is Little Crap. Not a vet, but I had a dog named Shithead and that led to a lot of really creative vulgarity when the dog disobeyed or ate something of value like the couch or a bag of weed. I'm not a vet, but this is somewhat related. One of our dogs is a pug. We got him a long time ago from a bad home. My wife and I kind of waited around too long to give him a proper name, so now we still just call him Pug or the Pug. I'm a little embarrassed when I take him to the vet and they ask his name and it's just Pug. You could always say his full name is Pugless, like Douglas, and Pug is just his nickname. Kitty. Now you may be wondering why that's a bad name. Kitty was an iguana. This is my favorite so far. Not a vet, sorry, but I worked in a dog kennel for 12 years. Worst names were a pair of Labradors, one white blonde and one black. Their names? Cracker and Tarbaby. The owners were the most trailer trash redneck hicks you could ever imagine. Not a vet, but I knew someone who had a cat named Sifa, which sounded fine to a child's ears. I later found out it was actually called C4. C for cat. I rolled so hard when I found out. I knew someone who had a dog named Deefa for the same reason. Obligatory not a vet, but my history teacher told us that he let his daughter name the cat when she was very young, and she called him Fluffabert. Years later she decided to rename him Milo. History teacher lived in a fairly rough area of the city and didn't exactly enjoy yelling Fluffabert into the night to get the cat home. I had a friend with a cat named Radiator because she named it when she was a toddler. Not sure why her parents went along with it. I was once at the dog park and this lady kept yelling at her dog, "Kevin, get over here, Kevin, let me take your picture." Kevin was an old, overweight black lab. I still laugh when I think about it. I met a dog named Rick Allen while walking my dog. Rick Allen was missing a front arm and his owner always used a full name. Rick Allen. Sit, Rick Allen. A cat named Monster, which wouldn't be that bad, except that the family's last name was Johnson. Monster Johnson, ha 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 ha. Not a vet, but have worked with pets over the years. There was an old GSD named Wally, a Lhasa named Shitsky, and a cat named Bird Dog. Best name ever was a one-eared Chihuahua mix named Vincent. That is a nice way of naming your dog Vincent. My dog is called Vincent because I liked the name. Obligatory not a vet, but One time I was taking my dog to the vet for a checkup cause she had an ear infection. While waiting in the lobby, an older woman comes in with a dachshund in her arms and lets him sit on the counter. This isn't a problem for the staff, as they love dogs, especially small dogs. The receptionist asks for the woman's name, reason for visit, then finally asks what the dog's name was. Dachshund. The receptionist says, "Oh, I know his breed, but what is his name?" Older woman looks her dead in the eye and in a slightly quieter voice she says Dachshund again. The receptionist looked confused for a second and the room was dead silent, so when the amount of laughter enraged it was hard not to as well. Receptionist asks the woman why she named her Dachshund, Dachshund, and the woman was quiet for a minute before replying, "He likes it. His little tail was wagging the entire time." Cue more laughter from all of us. Not a vet. Growing up, I had a friend who owned an iguana named TDI, the dang iguana, named by his mother who awaited it, as I recall. Turbocharged direct iguana. Vet tech here. Lots of bad ones, but I will never forget the bearded dragon we all just called MLN after learning that our receptionist had put no name because she was uncomfortable with the name. Imagine my dang face when I asked the mid-40s blonde white woman if they'd come up with a name yet and she answered, "Oh, he has a name? His name is my Lil N," as if that was a completely normal thing to say. In case anyone was wondering, I think my reaction was likely the reason they missed their recheck appointment later on. Not a vet, but my cat was named Minka. It's an Italian word. Apparently it's spelled Mincia and loosely translates into frick. An old co-worker moved into a share housing arrangement. Roommate had a cat named Furberger. The co-worker and her roommates were all lesbians. Mincia can translate as frick but more colloquially means dong. We just seen one cat named Pusky, unsure if there is some sort of reference here but I just think it's such a bad name. Last week we had a black Spider-Man. Apparently the kid named the cat, and of course no one can forget the dog Toke von Riefer II. We have a cat named Venom. He's black with a white spot on his chest. Not a vet, but I once knew a cat named Hitler. He was named that because he was all white except for a black spot where the mustache would go. He was a stray, but everyone in the neighborhood knew him and left food out, and he answered to that name. I met a cat with the same features but his name was Chaplin. Obligatory, not a vet. I was in the vet's waiting room, and there was a puppy with a woman and a child. The puppy was named Dave. The child was Atari. This is the best response. Shirley. I'm male. Last name rhymes with Sherlock. It was Sherlock for about 15 minutes and a drill sergeant heard it and changed it to Shirley. At least I got the drill sergeants to crack up. A great feeling. When I named my rifle Laverne. Best invalid response here. Okay, not a vet, but my dog's name is Needles. Here's the story. I'm a body pisser. It's pretty common for people in my industry to name an animal Needles. I never thought twice about the name. Me and Needles started cohabitation when I was living and working in small towns. The folks in small towns tend to treat folks that work in tattoo shops as local celebrities and everyone knows you and all your business. So no one questioned the name. 10 years later I'm in one of the 3 biggest cities in the US. I never questioned the name of my dog until my partner, their kid, and I were in a store making plans and I, a bit louder than I anticipated, said, "Can we run home and grab Needles before we go?" Everyone looked at us horrified. I did not understand why. Now my partner makes fun of me for being the homeless looking crackhead screaming "Come here Needles" when playing W my dog. Also now when someone asks the name of my dog I tell them and follow with "I'm a pisser not a junkie." I have a Siamese cat that we found in the bushes outside my dad's house when she was about a month old. She is beautiful and people have offered us hundreds of dollars for her before. We named her Paint Thinner. I love it, but why? Joy of the Lord. There's also a sphinx out there named Scrotum, which makes me laugh because that's exactly what a scrotum feels like. My BF's friend had a cat named Super P the Wanderess and another mobile home. BF also calls my cat B-Boy Bob and the cat responds. I had a chicken named Sweetie who was a vicious bee to my next door neighbor. He didn't believe that her name was Sweetie Ha. My grandma is a crass lady. She had a batch of kittens and a few names that stuck out. 1. Dew balls because his nuts were so big they could collect you in the yard. 2. Peter Rottentail because he had an infection on his tail and we had to have the vet remove part of the tail. 3. Foxy Lady because she was seemingly always in heat. I feel the need to share my own pet names here. One of my chickens is named Lego. One of my previous cats is named Salad. One of my previous cats is named Cat. One of my cats is named Troll. One of my other chickens is nicknamed Terrorhuhn, which is German for terroristic chicken. I had a friend that had a cat named Big Balls Troll. We called him BBT. He did have a very big pair of balls though. There was a dog in my mom's hometown in Colombia, named Kilo. He was a golden retriever mix and he was so smart. He knew all kinds of tricks because he was trained to go busking with his owner. Kilo means backside, or butt. My ex and I found a blind kitten one time. We weren't sure if she was going to live, but when she and her mom went to the vet they told them its name was Helen, as in Helen Keller. Coincidentally, my ex had a friend with another blind cat who was named Sockets. On the reverse side of this, a vet told me she thought my cat's name was weird. My cat's name is Ozark, which might seem strange since I'm a maritime Canadian. She's not named after the show with the mountains really, but rather after the Ozark Howler, which is some kind of devil cat bear cryptid thing in those mountains that screams a lot. My cat likes to yowl when we're not giving her attention, so I thought it fit. Emergency vet tech here, and I ended up saving a pup and rehoming him. I usually named rescues subtly after serial killers and this one's name was Odak. The new owner loved it and called him Ted Cruz or Ted. I volunteered at a cat shelter for several years. We used to have to make up names for all the cats, regardless if they already had one that we were aware of. I took a pic of the cat's crate label. The label read, Smokey, formerly Pastor Batman. I think I laughed about that for like 2 weeks straight. Not a vet, but I just had to share this one. I once met an older couple who let their toddler grandkid name their black and white Harlequin Great Dane. His name was Moo. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.